And another thing about this virus, okay? I got a lot of tinfoil hats in my family, as they say. And it doesn't matter if you think a testing lab was testing a virus on a bat, the bat escaped or was purposely let loose, then went into the meat market in Wuhan, China. Somebody ate it, and that's how the virus got around. It doesn't matter if you think the Jesuits of Rome are doing it. It doesn't matter if you think it's a globalist controlled depopulation campaign. Okay? There's a lot of different theories out there. Listen, if you have somebody dying on the floor and you have people not helping and they're just pointing fingers at each other, it doesn't exactly help that person survive. Okay? And some other people are saying, also, side note, oh, well, the government wants to depopulate so they don't have to pay people Social Security because they don't have the funding, or they want to keep it because they've been spending out of Social Security and taking it from it, and they don't want the elderly population to find out. Okay, here's the thing. All those theories could be simultaneously true. But here's the thing. We have to come together, we, the peasant class, and we gotta help each other survive, and we have to do what's right, okay? We can't just be idle. We have to make these politicians bend to our will, okay? And we need to stop making them feel so comfortable to the point where they don't have to serve us. We're not holding them accountable. We need to pull our eyes away from celebrities. For example, like reality TV shows, right? And things like that. We need to pull it away, and we need to start holding our politicians' feet to the fire. We are ignoring them. We get too distracted with bread and circuses. It's good to have entertainment, right? We all have it. But I'm talking about we've, in the States at least, have let our leaders run wild and create such large bills and giant webs of government to where we can't even track them anymore. So they're not really serving us, okay? And so, regardless of how you think the virus got around, you have to also be responsible and not just talk about the theories and then not mention the solutions. Because other countries with less developed nations, maybe they don't have access to the underground information that many of us do, at least in America. All right? The tinfoil conspiracy realm, whatever you want to say, those people might not have all that info, might not be able to process all that info because they don't really care about it or whatever. They can't read the books, they don't know certain agendas. So it's like anybody calling it like it's a hoax instead of, oh, it's manufactured, it's intentional. All these words, you should be very careful in how you word it, because other people are going to follow your advice badly and then not prepare and take it serious. That doesn't mean you fracture down, but it means we have to come together and decide, when is it safe for workers to go back and give the workers some of the freaking money that we put into the treasury. Okay, these politicians in their nice suits, their private security, gourmet meals, cocktail parties, everything that they spend our money on while we are rotting away and don't have rice, there's no beans, there's no tortillas, there's nothing on the shelves, right? And again, we all have to do our part in preparing a pantry and being prepared. But our system, there's a lot of traps. High cost of living, high health insurance, high gas, not proportional tax rates or refunds, right? Student loan debt and student loan interest rates. There is a lot going on. And then the cultural pressure to borrow money so that you can look richer and fancier than you are, so that you don't have to get dirty looks from other elites. Because people are socially pressured to not pretend to not look poor, right? It's very bizarre. We have a credit debt culture. Borrow, get in debt. You pay it later, you pay it later, you pay it later, and then when you get in debt and you're screwed because of the marketing and the social pressure, you're like, what am I gonna do? And people commit suicide. This debt campaign by the banks, spamming people, being little blankets of comfort to the people, are gonna trick people into borrowing personal loans to survive, and more people will get that bill every month. They got laid off, right, or they're not making money because the government hasn't even helped them in any way, and unemployment's not enough, and paid family leave is not enough, disability is not enough, right? Crime's the only outlet after that, and suicides will go up, or gang recruitment's gonna go up. People are gonna be pushed to extremities here. Yes, we can all turn to God. That's definitely true. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm not saying that that's not really where I'm talking about the conversation. I'm talking about people who are desperately, in lost. And it's going to be a dark time for us as a nation and as a global community. We have to think about what can we do to help people survive and how do we pull through it. And I understand even I'm getting a little angsty, like I want to be back at work, man. I feel useless, but we are saving lives. Because I am worried about people who are willing to sacrifice the elderly for the God market. Not God as in Allah or Jehovah or Yahweh. I'm talking about the Wall Street God of money. They're like, let the people get back to work. Money. The profit beast needs feeding, right? These people worship the economy like a beast, like a living demon that just, if you're not this number, give me money, give me money. It's very sick. And they're like, well, the old people are getting in the way. F them, let them die. Get the young people back to work. It's okay. If they gotta go in debt and their hospital bills to pay us back and borrow credit cards, we make money. So they make money off you getting sick, and they make money off of you going back to work. And they make money off of you having to bury your elderly because funerals are expensive. And how many people will be able to even afford a funeral at this time? It's very expensive, right? So think about how they are really pushing people to extremes and how that will hurt people in the end. The children, not having grandmas and grandpas. Elderly people provide a function. They really do, and they may not anymore because our culture pushed them aside. But what does it say about us as a nation if we abort babies en masse? And again, I'm pro-choice, but we do it for... There are women who just get 3-4 abortions because they just don't want to put a condom on, use birth control, and pull out and have better selections for mates, or just deal with the pregnancy. But they get all these abortions, so we're a nation that loves crushing baby skulls and ripping baby parts apart because that's how the baby has to come out. It literally has to be torn apart and the skull has to be crushed. So we kill babies, and now our leaders are willing to let all of us go into a Great Depression, economic recession, while also sending our troops to die in the sand in a useless war, while our elderly are going to die in mass. That's the kind of leaders we have. Bruh, people complain about Babylon, right? People complain about the past, like, oh, look at those terrible leaders. But at least Genghis Khan was in the front lines with his troops, if you know what I mean. Caesar was of the plebs, right? He fought with his soldiers. Napoleon, all these figures, Alexander the Great, think about them. But our nation is different. It's so large and so big and so corrupt and so backwards and so self-serving to a global elite of banking industries that we are like cockroaches under their shoes, and they're totally willing to just let us pass away. And these politicians say they care about us, but they clearly don't. They can't even pass a bill. They can't even pass a bill without any of their agendas in it. Just coronavirus funding bill. And Trump could do an executive order on a moratorium for rent, but he knows he'll get a lot of backfire from Republicans, libertarians, paleo-conservatives, neoliberals even, right? He knows the Reaganites, he knows, the Warhawks, that they won't like that. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't. And there's plenty of Democrats who do not want to give anything to their peasant base. Bernie Sanders is literally the only one right now who's truly on the front lines, giving logical assertions on how we can help working class people, and they are trashing him left and right. And regardless of what you think about him, at least he's mentioning it every day, while Joe Biden goes and hides away and mumbles because he has dementia. He's had 2 brain aneurysms, he's unfit, and his son was caught smoking crack outside of a strip club. He's unfit to be a leader. Trump is more fit than Joe Biden, okay? And it's just very sad because I don't know what the people are going to do. Even where I live, there's like a quietness in the air, a despair in the air. It's weird. People are afraid. I'm so blessed I'm not in Oakland or Richmond or East LA or in Watts. because or back in Philly, or all the other pockets in America, which are just open wounds that we don't heal. Those people are being forgotten about. And we talk about a union, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, liberty is getting taken away. Justice? For-profit prisons show you that that's not the case. Corrupt policemen that don't get charged, right? Under God. Would God approve of this? Anybody's version of God? No, actually, we're more like the apocalyptic people of Noah, the people of Thamud, the Lamanites, whatever religion you want to plug in. We are living in the time where there's true decay, of where people are not really acting right, and they're not really doing their best. We have corrupt leaders. So think about that. I mean, it's a lot for us to learn and to examine. So, I mean, wow. What do you think? Because I think it'll get much darker before it gets better. And there's so many people right now like, this virus is a hoax. It's not real. It's just martial law. Well, here's the thing. Martial law will happen if people don't self-isolate. And people, if they did self-isolate, they're going to get naturally angsty. And the government could solve that if they just gave out the UBI. But then again, other people will say, well, that's why they don't want to give it out to you, because they want martial law to bring in a new economic order and a new system of less data protections, right? They want to be able to track you, where you went, and who you contacted with via your phone's information. I understand, because after 9/11, they took away a lot of our freedoms. I get that. I really do. But here's the thing, is that I don't think that's the only thing we should examine during this virus. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So, please, hear me out on it and let me know what you think. But I'm not saying we have to shut everything down, but it is going to be scary if we send everybody back to work and we just have a year filled with cycles of the plague. But maybe this is how people felt in the time of Moses, right? When they put that lamb's blood on the door, while that spirit, that plague spirit sent by God went and took, and smited people, the firstborns of Egypt. And what did Egypt look like? And why were their leaders so bad? God heard the cries of his people, and he didn't like it. The cries of the slaves getting whipped and suffering for the greed and power and lust and arrogance of the powerful. So we have that now, but worse. I'm afraid in Spain they had some people who they just left the old people to die in the retirement homes. I saw that story today. And I've been to those old folks' homes in America, and it's a dark place. I feel so sad. They're all alone. My grandma's in a quarantine because she had her shoulder surgery, so she's in aftercare, and she's all by herself. No one can go in or out. She's all by herself. My grandpa, he had his heart surgery. He's doing so good, but he's at home alone. And it's sad because no one's there to help them. And my mom's not allowed to have a firearm because she lives in Section 8 housing. So my little brother, his nickname's Rocky because, he's born in Philadelphia. He actually put some nails in a baseball bat because they live in a very sketch area in Utah, which is surprising that there's that many sketch places in Utah, but they are having a lot of Californians move there. So that explains why their sketchiness is going up, because California has more people leaving than moving in due to housing prices. But at least they have something to protect themselves in case something really goes bad, because junkies, they're going to have a field day with you and your family. The gang's going to have a field day with you and your family. And the more they take away our gun rights, the more they make us weak, the more they treat us like cattle to the slaughterhouse, the worse it will get. And they're perfectly willing to let us die. It's very sad. Money over human lives. I think maybe our culture is just too big. Maybe we're just so divided and we're not really a union anymore. We're not a union. All the states can't stand each other. The southern states, at least, are more in unification. But even West Coast and East Coast people sometimes don't get along in their own personal philosophies. It's just very sad. What's gonna happen to everybody? It's gonna be even more dangerous. It's gonna be even more dangerous for people. What do you think?